It'll always be freedom. It'll always be freedom.
Hi, everybody. Welcome. This is Conversations in Anarchy. This is Miranda again, also known as Lily Forrester. I am here with another interview. This time it is with a beloved partner of ours, as well as a friend of mine. And this year is going to be a speaker. We have Bodreay with us. She's with iHealCollective. For anybody that's been to Anarchapulco in person, the last several years, they've seen Bodreay and her team making grown men scream and cry and walk away with a smile on their face. So without further ado, Bodreay, how are you doing?
I'm great, Lily. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really good. I'm excited to be doing this. When I was told that I should be doing some interviews for this, I was like, okay, I have my list. And I knew that you needed to be on it. So I'm super excited to have you.
Me too. So excited to catch up with you.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just going to kind of launch into my questions. Also, we have your friend Elan here. She's going to be one of your practitioners, from my understanding, this year, right?
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
We'll touch on what she's going to be offering a little bit later on, but I'm just going to kind of launch into some questions that I have here so people can kind of get to know you a little bit. First one is, I know you're in Zihuatanejo. That's kind of by Acapulco.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know what brought you to Mexico and what do you think of life there?
Yeah, so we were in Canada as they were mandating the vaccines. And because I run a health company, obviously the lack of medical freedom there, I was very concerned that, black guys in suits are going to show up and start taking my equipment away. And Sean, who is our production manager and the other half of the collective, was obviously struggling within the movie industry and the mandates for that. So he's very intelligent in a lot of that stuff. So he could really kind of predicted the future of how everything went. And, we were just like, we have to get out now. And so we came down to Mexico with another health company that we ended up splitting from, just difference of views. And Zihuatanejo was we landed here and we liked it. It was safe. The people were great. The food here is awesome. It's paradise, right? So I really love Mexico. I love the people. I love the energy and the freedom, right? So it's like I'm looking at what's happening in Canada right now. And what's happened in the last 4 years. And I am so grateful that I'm not there. Being in Mexico has allowed me to be able to be as free as I want to be within the medical practices that we do. And just with that lack of oversight, we've been able to do so many therapies and bridge these therapies together to get these correctional results.
That's amazing. Yeah, I have personally experienced some of the therapies. I did the womb healing last year, and I also did a session with you. And putting it out there, yeah, this is not like a simple massage, like some people go into it. It is all sorts of things, like all sorts of things. So tell me a little bit more about your specialties, yours in particular as a body worker, and what iHealCollective offers in general.
Yeah, so iHealCollective, we made it a platform to bridge practitioners from different modalities, so we can start working together and stop that kind of expert syndrome of this is what's going to fix you. And it's different for every person, right? It's your biochemistry, it's your traumas. So treating the body from the physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional levels to really come together for real healing. And I myself, we do something we call mixed modality or quantum body work, which is a combination of advanced reflexology, Rainer body therapies, cupping, lymphatic drainage, sound and vibrational healing, and really just weaving these all together. And no treatment's ever the same, right? You're really working on with people one-on-one. What's going on with you? It's not like a massage where it's 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there. We're starting at the root of the problem. So when it comes to chronic pain, the root of the problem is always in the hands and the feet. And if you don't fix the hands and the feet, you are a Band-Aid for the situation. It might feel good. It might feel good for a while, but it's always going to come back because these are the first things that interact with the world. So we've been able to study the pathways of tension that move through the body. And pathways of tension is a tension band, we like to call it, is comprised of muscles, tendons, ligaments, and fascia. And it's the pathway, not just a single, muscle here or ligament here. And if you can follow that path of the body, you don't just relieve chronic pain, you can correct it. Stop surgeries. It's crazy.
Yeah. So what does that mean, like working with the feet? I know what it means, but like, what does that mean as far as people, at home listening to this? Like, what exactly, how does that work in practice?
Yeah. So when we think of like reflexology, we're usually thinking of a foot rub. And as you know, and many other people that have seen us, it's not that. We are finding the tip of these tension points and holding it until it releases. A lot of the work we do, you see it like deep tissue massage or rolfing, where they're in the body moving like this. We're not doing that. It can be one of the most painful experiences you've ever had when I have the weight of a pencil on you in certain areas because it's really targeted. And then as you release that, there's no, like, you can fix sciatica sometimes in one appointment that people have been struggling with for 20 years. But you have to understand the methodology and where everything is placed and releasing, we work with Elan as well, doing organ releases. Right. So we hold a lot in a lot of emotion in our organs. Right. So as far as our liver and kidneys hold fear and fright, our kidneys hold our fear and our fright, our liver and our gallbladder hold our anger, frustration. So really kind of seeing where people are at and targeting that and taking the time that you need. There are times when I'll spend 2 hours on the feet without even moving, because if I don't do that, nothing else matters. And actually, we are in the process of filming a self-reflexology course in the advanced reflexology, so that people that maybe don't have a practitioner in the area, can't find one, can follow along with video as we show them how to do the fundamentals of releasing chronic pain for themselves. And I mean, you can't reach your whole body. You may still have to see a practitioner, but these are the fundamentals. And if you can get that done by the time you come to us, we can fly through the body. But it's really all about changing your relationship to pain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have my memory of like tears streaming down my face and just like, but you're right. You were just using, I don't know if I want to call it a chopstick, but it was something similar to that with a point on it. And you were just pressing, and it was just like, why does this hurt so much? And like, I had numbness in my fingers and stuff for a while after that, but I did notice that I did kind of deal with a drop in pain. This was like right after Anarchapulco, and I had just spent the entire week walking for like 15 hours a day.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really interesting to me. I'm curious as to like what led you down this path in the first place. Like, where did you discover this sort of work?
I think most of the, I would say, best healers out there, but yes, are kind of come from the wounded healer aspect. For myself, I was a competitive snowboarder for years. I broke my back in 3 places, shattered my collarbone, broke my wrist. And it got to a point of my, just the abuse of my body over and over where I could barely walk. And they told me that I would be in a wheelchair by the time I was 35. I had to have these surgeries. I had to have this. And I set me on a different journey, which I ended up starting in Thailand. And I found a gentleman there that showed me a bit of just basic fundamentals. And I just took it to a whole different level, just kind of brutal with myself. And then I noticed after about 2 weeks of working on myself at this level and just kind of going through my feet and figuring this out, half of my pain was gone. And then it just became a combination of finding these different modalities. And we figured out the pathway of tension. We put them together. We're like, oh, so that came from Brandon Rayner. And we've worked within that system and expanded it as well. But when you put these together, the entire body is I mean, you still need some tension in your body or else you'd just be a hanging skin suit. But the level of tension that we live at, and from your silks, right? I mean, everything that you were doing with your hands. When we think of things like carpal tunnel, tennis elbow, these are all the same things. It's just tension. So when I started to be able to put that together in my mind, I was like, oh, we can fix this. And then the universe does what it always does, when it wants you on a certain path. I did healing kind of part-time here and there. And then my other options seemed to start to dissipate as it pushed me towards this path full time. And we have this thing within our society where it's the pursuit of happiness. Find your happiness, find your happiness. And then I started to realize, find your purpose, because with purpose comes happiness. And there is so much purpose in being able to give someone their functional life back. So that's just been the pathway to go forward on.
So how long have you been doing this stuff then?
On and off about 10 years. Full time, maybe about 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Most people don't really get to find their purpose. They just end up getting shoved in a box from schooling and all of that.
Yeah.
They end up doing something that maybe pays the bills, but like isn't necessarily what they're meant to do. So I do want to say congrats, because it's really special to have something that you're good at, something that you love, and something that really helps people that you can choose to support yourself with. That's
I'm so grateful. And, I look at other body workers, massage therapists around the world, and they don't generally have a long, like I want to say lifespan, but time span that they're able to do that job, whether it's they're not able to discharge energies or it just becomes boring. This job is never boring because we're getting to these different levels of tension, of energy, and every treatment's different. So it keeps it fresh in your mind and you're excited to go into this. Yeah, I'm so grateful.
Yeah, and I've heard that because I have some friends that took your course recently, that you're also not just doing the work, you're teaching people how to do this work, people that come across to you and become passionate about it. What's that been?
It's been incredible. The few of us that we actually have trained before, this year, which is about 5 of us, are in such high demand that it gets to be overwhelming. And we really knew at the end of next year that we needed to ramp it up. And it's not an easy job because, you're putting people in pain and you have to coach them through it and energetically. So, some of the people that come and take the course may not be practitioners, but they want the knowledge. And so the other people that did show up to do it just immerse themselves. And I had myself, and you met Asia last year. She did your womb healing. So she flew down to Mexico and it was a 2-week comprehensive course. There was so much to do. And we keep learning, these practitioners are coming to conventions with us. So we just keep expanding our skill set. And they're all really individual healers. We have Anthony Samaroff, for example. He's one of our psychotherapists. And he, I didn't know how I was going to go for him. And he blew me out of the water, and with the mental game as well that he can work within the body. We had David Womack, who's already a live blood analyst, Rife specialist, so many other things. And so we're really kind of building a super team of healers that have so many skill sets that they can really weave together, that are trained in our Brown's gas therapies, for example, that along with the ozone therapies, that we're able to bridge this through. But really, we want most of our people to have a foundation in this body work. And this course it was beautiful to watch everyone come together. And as you know, the trauma releasing during the course, how getting their bodies back to the state they wanted, and then to be passionate about bringing that to everybody else because it's experience that they just had.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's really special because, in this crazy world, as things get crazier and crazier, we're all incentivized to segregate the more that we can find communities, especially in fields like this where like chronic pain is one of those things that when we're, you see the memes all the time that are like after 30s, you're just supposed to be in pain,
Yeah.
It's kind of like the thought. So having a community, but also having a community built around actually dealing with that instead of just
right
for what it is.
And actually providing the education. Like most people don't know this, but about a month ago, I tore my MCL and my meniscus, which should have both of those at the same time, which should have taken, I should have been with most people in bed for a couple months on crutches and a cane. Never had to use crutches, never had to use a cane. The ligaments are still healing to a degree, but I can walk. I'm super mobile now. And it's because I understood at the beginning how to take that chronic tension out right after the injury happened. So I almost had no downtime, which is crazy. So if we can show people how to do that to themselves, it's just really, really exciting to get to this level because there's no other body work that I know of in the world that is corrective with chronic pain at this level. And one of the guys that came down and took the course, actually, Josh, he works with Satori. He's been in chronic pain for 20 years. And he said he spent over $1 million trying to get his body healthy and nothing's worked. And this was the most powerful bodywork system in the world, as he, is very well educated because he's tried everything. And it's the only thing that has worked. And now he's doing like so much better. And now he's educated in the course. So he can keep those fundamentals working for himself.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I am kind of curious, like what is, what's the most miraculous thing you've seen in your time doing this sort of body work? Like, have you ever encountered something that you've been like, oh, I don't know if this is going to do what we're hoping, but let's see. And it just completely blew you out of the water?
There are quite a few. Christian's a good one. So he had 2 strokes, and the survival rate of that at his age is about 15% as you move forward. So he showed up in my clinic almost a vegetable. And with the combination of the body work that we were doing within the Brown's gas, within the ozone and everything we were doing, he walked out of my office and this is his words, 75% better within 2.5 months. And he came in a vegetable. So he got to have, and it's not perfect, but he got to have his functional life back once again. So on that level, when it gets deeper into the sides, we do deal with things like Huntington's, Parkinson's, MS. That was really miraculous at that level. And there's support from all the modalities from my entire team. It was an intensive program. But for somebody else that was just looking for body work, another gentleman I had fly down last year, this is just a really great example. He was quoted he needed surgery in 4 different places in his back. His mobility was limited. Everything was breaking down. So within 5 weeks, we got him out of complete pain, and he went back to the surgeons. Everything in his back was fixed. And they were like, we don't know what you did, but all of this is gone. And they told him for 2 years, you need these surgeries, you need these surgeries. And he didn't need any of them. And now he's got himself on Brown's gas. He looks 10 years younger. And he's like, I feel better now at this age in my life than I ever have.
That's amazing. You've mentioned a few times the Brown's gas. I've experienced it, but what exactly is that? How does that work? And yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so Brown's gas or molecular hydrogen, we have to think of what are we made of in our body? Well, we're made of 87% hydrogen and oxygen, 12% carbon, 2% everything else. What if we put what we are made of back into our body and start there? When we think of hydrogen, we think of liquid, but it's not just that. It's a plasma level. And what our Brown's gas machines do, our electrolyzers, it converts it into negatively charged water plasma. So by breathing this gas and drinking this water, you are putting most of what it's made of back into your body. And we work so hard with healing things. This is the easiest way to get healthy. All you do is breathe gas and drink water. And for myself, who's already quite healthy, for me, my skin is better. I used to need glasses. I don't need glasses anymore. My energy levels, I can just jump out of bed now. And for someone that's not quite on the same place in their health journey, I have another client. She's 83. She came to me about a year and a half ago and was, I want to shut this down if this isn't getting better. Well, she breathes it all night, every night, and she looks about 15 years younger. She started to reverse dementia. Like everything is just changing in her body, and it's just amazing to see. And it makes such basic sense. Like your body makes molecular hydrogen, but that's after your digestion process. So if you can just give that to your body, it gets to keep all of its energy for everything else. And fundamentally, the changes that I've seen in people and I felt in myself absolutely blow me away. Like for anyone that struggles to just drink water, and I did for years just to chug that heavy water down. Well, you bubble this water into plasma and it's just the most delicious drink you put in your body. It's crazy.
Yeah, I've had a little bit of experience with that. And definitely I noticed just in the short term, I've had very limited experience. I did have more energy,
Yeah.
Anarchapulco, especially for the team and the sponsors and people, it's just it is exhausting. So it is.
You work so hard.
It's so tiring. Yeah, I'm excited for next month, but I'm also just kind of whew, here we go again.
Well, we'll keep you topped up. That was one of my favorite things was bringing the Brown's gas water to the volunteer booth and they'd be like, I love to be there to support you guys. I've worked in production, many years of my life as well. And just to watch the amount of effort you guys put in and how hard you work. We love being there to sponsor and to help you guys with the treatments with the Brown's gas. We take that very seriously because nothing runs if the wheels on that bus fall off. So everyone being there at Anarchapulco this year, you hold these people in high regard because they work their butts off.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I also know that you have a lot of products that you sell. You sell DMSO products, you sell frankincense products. Can you kind of give an overview of that so people know what to expect at your booth other than...
Yeah. So we use DMSO and frankincense are the basis of a lot of what we do. Unfortunately, the frankincense has become really hard to get because we get the highest quality of medicinal frankincense in the world from the Dhofar region of Oman. This is literally stuff they brought Jesus. So we use them in cancer treatments. We use this in our eye drops. So we were finding a really hard time getting our hands on it. But then we found the raw product. So we are actually distilling it ourselves. Our first still just started producing 2 days ago. And my other practitioner and lab that's running it, she says, she's tested the quality of all our frankincense that we've had before, which has been amazing. She said, this is blowing it out of the water. So I'm going to get my hands on it in California in a couple of days. I fly out tomorrow to be able to test. And I'm so excited. So this stuff is medicine. And what I've seen to do, like with the toothpaste, for example, I used to have gum line stains all through my mouth. I didn't always take care of myself like I do now. Within about 2 months of using my toothpaste, all of my gum line stains were gone and 2 of my cavities in my mouth were reversed. So, and I've heard nothing but, people that they get addicted to it, they'll be in Romania, they're like, send me some. It's pretty hard, but we'll do our best. And the DMSO products, for those that don't know about DMSO, we call it the miracle solvent, dimethyl oxide. It comes from tree lignin, very important component in plant cell walls. But when extracted and applied, it increases your microcirculation to like a nuclear level. So it heals and repairs your body in record time. Helps take pain away. Yeah, it's absolute magic. And Dr. Amanda Vollmer talks a lot about this. She's one of the forefront in DMSO, and she makes an amazing book called Healing with DMSO for anyone that wants to know more. Very short read, very concise. And I'll be talking a little bit about that probably in my talk this year as well. But through the combinations, it becomes like alchemy. Right. And we're going to have a few new products where we're using Elan's ozone oil and mixing it in with this to penetrate further into the body. So for me, it's just a lot of fun with the experimentation and making and just being able to have these homemade products. But we are ramping it up now because we have never been able to ship really in the US unless I'm smuggling it in from Mexico. But now that we're producing in the US, people that love our products are going to be able to have easy access to them now.
Yeah, that's really exciting because it's kind of. I mean, I have had a crochet business, and trying to get products to the United States of any kind for any affordable amount of money is definitely a hurdle at best.
Yeah. Let me know. I can help you smuggle some here and there. I'm becoming really good at it.
Honestly, I have basically paused that business because it's like, telling people like, hey, I know you're buying this $30 hat, but it's going to be $40 to ship it to you. I just got tired of it. People would pay it, but I got tired of it. But also like crochet, the hourly rate on that is
like 3 cents.
It's something like that. It's not good. It's
a passion project.
Yeah. So I've just started crocheting and making things for people I love and for myself, and then just worrying about the rest of it. But
it's shipping's becoming, actually, people in Mexico don't know this new president who I'm very quite concerned about. She's changed a lot of the shipping laws. So where I'm able to get, bottles and things for myself into Mexico to sell my products, she shut all of that down. So now I can go get the products, but I have to bring everything back to sell it with because, Amazon's just like, we're not shipping it. We're not shipping it. I'm like, what? So it's actually, I'm a little bit concerned, more than a little bit, about the changes that are starting to happen that are already affecting small businesses and our ability to get things in and out of the country, which is already difficult.
Well, here's a little bit of conspiracy theory that we've been discussing around my household the last 24 hours. And I'm kind of curious as to if you've come across this, and if you have, what are your thoughts? I guess there are a lot of talks happening about incorporating North America into one state. So we're talking Canada, the United States, Mexico, Greenland, all becoming one.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, as a Canadian, it's a complex situation. I would like the borders to be open for trade from all of this, and that'd be amazing. And within Canada, our ability to not sell our natural resources properly with our high demand, our government and state has just been insane. It would be nice to get a little bit more growth within that. But I actually got to Justin Trudeau stepped down, our prime minister, the other day, which is super encouraging. But the Liberal Party is still in power. But that's a good step in the right direction. But as a Canadian and knowing the voice of other Canadians would never agree to that. They wouldn't. Mexicans, it's interesting because half of them are trying to come to the States.
Mm-hmm.
Who knows? But yeah, the Canadian, someone posted that on one of the Canadian chats today, and there was just a massive uproar of everyone being like, never going to happen. But for someone that's doing business more in America and that kind of thing now, I'm like, that might be a little short-sighted because at Canada, there was a great interview, actually. Dr. Jordan Peterson talked to Pierre Poilievre, who was probably going to be the next Prime Minister of Canada, conservative. And I watched it last night, and he answered a lot of questions with trade, GP, everything that's going on in the country, and really well, actually. I still have some questions. They didn't address anything medical, but it was encouraging for a change.
Interesting. Yeah, I it's funny. I said the same thing in regards to, I was like, Canadians are not going to go for that. Like maybe their government will try to, but like the people in general are not going to be cool about all of that. But I mean, stranger things have happened in this world, so we'll see. Like I'm a skeptic. Like, I've talked to a few people about this, and some people are like, yeah, it's going to happen next year. And then others are like, that's not going to happen. And I'm kind of like, if it does, it's not going to be anytime soon.
No, it's always a slow burn with this stuff. And I'm like you, I'm a skeptic about everything. Although, Pierre Poilievre sounded amazing. I'm like, there's things they're not addressing, and maybe this is a WHO plant. And, these things are always going through my mind. And there's almost nobody I've seen on media that I'm like, I fully trust you, except for Dr. Jack Cruz. For those of you that have not watched his stuff, he is insane. He did an interview with with Danny Jones's podcast, where he actually confronted a lobbyist, and it was ruthless and amazing. So everyone should check out his stuff when it comes to medical freedom. He can't be canceled, and he actually has a platform and a voice because, for us, we're shadow banned on everything. The whole show Jab Rehab really on our media.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of interesting to play with these sorts of thought experiments, but I also noticed, like, I got an email from Amazon Mexico next week that's like, if you're ordering anything from the United States, 19% tax. If you're ordering anything from Canada, 19% tax. And I'm like,
yep. And some of them just won't ship now.
Yeah.
Regardless.
Well, that's insanity. It's sad.
It's sad. Yeah. And the other scary thing is within Mexico, and I know you're not legalized, but there is RFC is kind of like their social insurance number. And now they want an RFC number for everything. So the government can track everything. And I'm like, that's very un-Mexican. And, I have a lot of faith in Mexicans. Like they're, you push them too far, they're going to push back. They're definitely not as nice as Canadians when it comes to parliamentary and government stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out in Mexico.
I mean, yeah, it really depends on where you're at, though, because as far as like the COVID thing, that went farther here than I expected.
Me too. But they're really not medically, their health, they're not informed, but you start pushing around in their businesses, that might be something, that actually riles them up. Their ability, I think they followed the lead of the rest of the world, being like, okay, the rest of the world's doing this. So obviously we're taking this seriously. It's affecting their businesses. But if you just start arbitrarily now doing this with no threat of virus or anything like that, Mexico has been known to come back at the government once or twice in their history.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. I didn't realize that it was the president that was making those changes. I just thought they were, because, and it sucks because Amazon Mexico was just starting to get decent.
I know.
Like I've lived here almost 10 years and it was so hard to get everything. And the last year I'm just like, wow, it's great. And now I'm going to find this like,
I know. I now have to order everything to Elan and then smuggle it all back. We'll make it work though. And she's an interesting choice. You look at the last president who Elmo Catholic, very traditionalist, and this is a Mexican Jewish president, which is very interesting. And many people are talking that she's just straight from the World Economic Forum. So it'll be interesting to see what she tries to implement and what Mexicans take. Yeah.
And also to see because I remember when AMLO was elected, there were a lot of people that were really terrified of, they were like, okay, this is communism in Mexico. And he actually surprisingly responded to COVID pretty well. Like he surprised me on quite a few things.
I was quite impressed with him for a politician.
Yeah. I don't really have too many complaints about him. I did hear through the grapevine that some people were saying that he was talking about deporting all gringos, but I was never actually able to find this press conference.
Yeah, we're a big part of their economy, especially where we are in Guerrero. Tourism is the number one economy. Well, it's legal here. Yeah. So it's one of those things that, I feel super safe here. I've never in 4 years had one situation that's made me feel unsafe in my area at all. I've never had things stolen. Mexico gets a really bad rap, and there are areas like every other place, but I haven't seen it at all.
Yeah. I mean, I had a few months ago, I had my friend's car that I've borrowed for this whole year got broken into, and they stole, of all things, because there wasn't much to steal out of the car. They stole face wash and pimple patches. And I remember being like, this is your big heist, but
it's really bad acne. Right. They need to come get some ozone from us at the and
it was just like, damn guys, okay, I guess I have to go buy that again. That's annoying. And I had to pay to have the lock stuff. But usually it's more in places like it's interesting that so many people gravitate towards PV, yet there's been some issues there. There's always going to be those, more or less safe areas, but also my experience, the more touristy a place is, the harder dealing with police, for example, is, and like all the other stuff is. It's definitely a whole thing, you know.
I think that it's interesting because we're a very huge tourist area here for being small as we are, and there are a lot of police. We have a naval base here, but it's not like it was in like Cancun when I was there, where the police were trying to extort you left, right, and center. Here, they just kind of leave you alone, and if they they pull you over, you're like, oh, here, didn't wear my helmet. Here's a few hundred pesos. But we here haven't had any problems like I've seen and I've experienced in other places. So we're really lucky. We're really grateful for that.
Well, in general, like Zihuatanejo, compared to especially places like Tulum and Cancun and all of those places, and even Puerto Vallarta, there are the tourist industry, yes, but like more often than not, it's Mexican tourists, you know, like
exactly a lot of that.
I'm in Morelia still, and my friends, when they want to go to the beach, they go to Ziwa.
Yeah.
You know, that's where they go. That's where they go for Christmas and, you know, Easter and everything. And that's super, super common. I think they realize there's less to get away with there, you know, because and also people that are willing to go to the state of Guerrero, you know, are not necessarily as easily trifled with as the people. Because like it's funny when people tell me, "Oh, I've been to Mexico before. I went to Cancun," and I'm like, "Well, you went to like."
You went to Los Angeles, Mexico.
It's not quite Mexico there. If you have the experience where you try to speak Spanish at a waiter and they respond to you in English in Mexico, that's most of the time, you know, that is what that is. And who knows, you know, I just, you know, I guess I'm a little biased. I didn't come here to just simply be surrounded by American culture in the same way other people do. I think other people come to Mexico and they just want to tell everybody they're in Mexico while still having more.
You were looking for immersion, and even within the the body work that we're doing, I treated a decent amount of Mexicans with this, and we're going to do a training course in May, and then I think that we're planning on doing right after a Mexican training course, so we can start bringing this to the people, so they can start spreading it themselves within that. So I really want to immerse this within these people as well, because it's interesting. They don't really. My Spanish isn't great, but when they come to me, they're like, we don't really know what you do, but it works, so we just have to trust you on this. So it's it's really interesting where you can coach people through pain and treatment quite easily, when you're speaking the same language, but if you're not. So I was like, I need to get some Mexicans trained because there are a lot of nuances within this and get quite complicated, and my Spanish is not there yet to be able to have them spread this to their people and really give back to the community that way.
Yeah, with the language thing and treating people, and like, I've seen some like Mexican osteopaths and stuff like that, and it can be difficult to communicate, like, like duele aquí,
tell me 8 when it gets too much, and they're like, oh, Joe, no, ouch, Joe. I know all the Mexican swear words.
I mean, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
especially because like the male side of the culture in general is very, macho, and you have a grown-ass man crying and begging you to stop in Spanish.
It's really funny. And actually, interestingly enough, I found women can take more pain. Men are stronger, but we are tougher. So it's a really interesting when you get a grown man on the table, and then in 2 minutes, or just trying to hold it in. And I'm like, let it go. This is what you need to do. And that's really part of these therapies is a lot of this stuff when it comes to trauma, tension, it's everything you're taking in and holding, right? Like, how do people get out? We repress so much in society, and that stays within your cellular DNA. So this is a point, and Lily said at the beginning, you're seeing grown men and women, walking by and you would think that would deter people from wanting treatment. But there's something within our biology that seems to have shifted. It's like, I need that. You have a lineup down the block while someone's screaming in pain.
You are literally constantly busy during the event, like a literal line and a list of people waiting. And it's really quite interesting to see that because, you definitely see people having a tough time. And then as soon as they're walking away, they're telling their friends, and 5 of their friends come over and are trying to get in.
I know, it's like my dad's sister's brothers and cousins, uncles needs to see you and all of them and this and this. And you know what, this year though, Anarchapulco is our favorite event. So this year we are bringing so many more practitioners. Everyone's so jazzed to come. I think we have 6 or 7 body workers coming, all trained in mixed modalities, a live blood analyst, I believe. I think he's bringing his microscope, Rife biofeedback, the Brown's gas, and then Elan's EBU treatment, which is the best ozone blood cleaning system in the world. So we take Anarchapulco very seriously. And I didn't want to leave again with having half the list not completed. Right. And there's only so much speaking and, that I can do and get to. So I was like, we need to amp up the team and bring more. And everyone this year responded like, let's go.
That's that. And usually you have like a house that you do stuff during the Forco as well.
Yeah, usually I'm not sure how much longer we're going to be able to stay. I think because I'm bringing so many more practitioners, we're going to be able to get through so much more. That's why we usually stay about 3 to 4 extra days. I'm not positive how much longer we'll be able to stay this year just because of other demands that are happening after. But a few of us will probably kick around because Anarchapulco was a lot of fun too.
Yeah. Will Asia be coming and doing the womb healing thing again?
Asia will be coming. Yeah. And we'll work that out. Yeah. So she's definitely coming down for that. And we're going to have, I'm not sure if I'm doing a workshop. I've yet to hear back about that, but we might even combine if I am, where the portion of my, workshop of advanced reflexology also flows into the womb healing side of things. So we'll see kind of how that goes as well. But if not, we will definitely make that a point of doing it after, because I think that's something that is so needed.
Yeah, I did that. I wasn't able to make it for the group one that she did, but I ended up having her do, if you remember, right before you did my body on me last year.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I don't know what I really expected for that, but it was interesting, like, because she was doing kind of like a channeling thing. She's walking around me and saying numbers and stuff, like numbers that are significant in my life. Never talked to this girl.
Yeah.
She told me that she had seen me burned at the stake in the past life as a witch. And I'm like, what? And then she's doing stuff to actually like release my pelvis.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very interesting experience, but definitely I think 1,000% worth it. I know that some people hear like womb healing and they're like,
it sounds really woo-woo talking about kind of what Asia does, but when you meet Asia, she's so real. Like I think she is such an incredible teacher of mine. We share a lot of things back and forth, friend, mentor when it comes to the spiritual realm of things. And she's just been through a lot in her life and has really just processed it into a way that she can really just, it comes off a lot differently than most people you consider a shaman, where you're kind of, you don't know what to expect, but after, and she can really break it down for you to in really concise ways. And is just one of the most real human beings I've ever met, especially what we consider it doing within the spiritual level of things. So I think that it translates really well to a lot of people that wouldn't necessarily go for something like that.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's really interesting. I when I think back on that experience, I'm still like, what was that? But also like, I want to do it again.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm really excited. She's come down to Mexico for the training course, and then she'll come down for this. And she really leads the Canadian side of our team. What we are really trying to do at this point is not make it so everyone has to come to Mexico to see us when they need treatment, is really to expand so people have treatment areas and options in Canada and now in the States. Elan, we'll be talking to here as well. David Womack are really heading what's going on in the States, so that when people fly home, they're like, I need more treatment. You don't necessarily, I mean, it's nice to come to Mexico, but you now have options. You can go to San Diego and see them. You can go to LA and see them. I have someone in Santa Barbara. I have someone in Mendocino. So we're trying to really have healers in all dimensions in these areas, because what we have really found is it's great to have one treatment, but we're just usually opening the can of worms, and people need more. And a lot of them want a program. Like, I did this once. I'm ready to go all the way. I want my whole body to feel like this. And it's like, okay, we need to find a way to get, practitioners to the people and not just the reverse. So I put a lot of effort into that. And so has my team this year.
Yeah. And I know that you generally give the advice to work on yourself and stuff, but I'll be honest, like, it takes a very special type of person to be willing to do that to themselves. Like,
yes, you are not wrong. It's not easy. And I mean, this is why I want to do a video course, so I can kind of coach people through the experience with that and see if you can hold on. And I mean, the nice thing about giving pain to yourself is you get able to play around with the levels a little bit more, whether, I'm giving it to you. I can't feel the level of pain you are. I can feel the energy release, but you don't necessarily have to take yourself to what I take you to because you live with your body every day. So even if you're just doing a little bit every single day, the accumulation of that is going to make drastic results as well. Whereas when you come see me, I might have 2 hours, 2.5, 3 hours. I got to get as much done as possible of what you can handle. But really pushing yourself through that and changing your relationship to pain, having that release point on that really just realigns your whole body. It's like, okay, it's kind of like when you pour hydrogen peroxide on a cut, right? And you're like, that stings, but it helps. And the more of this work you do, the deeper you can go because you know the results. Yeah. And participating in your own healing and becoming your own healer to whatever degree you are able to is such an incredible feeling because you're like, I can fix that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now I know what's wrong.
Yeah. I think that's really special. But yeah, it's definitely one of those things that
not everyone's going to be able to do.
Not everybody's going to be able to do it, but also like it just doesn't occur to you until you're actually in one of these sessions of like, because most people are like, ooh, body work. Ooh, I'm going to get a massage at Anarchapulco. And then they're like, they have you.
It's not a massage. I've had people trick people like that before. Like, oh yeah, I paid for a massage for you with this lady. Like it's interesting, but I've never, in the entire time I've been doing this in 10 years, I've had one person walk off my table, and that was something else that was going on. They were hearing someone else have a trauma release. People, they get to a resonance within this, and it's usually halfway through a session where there's a big surrender point. And then they get off. And the thing is, this never doesn't work. Not one time has anyone ever got off my table and not been like, I feel so different. And then it lasts.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, or any of my practitioners' table. I shouldn't just say myself. I'm so excited for you to meet everybody this year and have the full team. To bring Elan on board. Oh my goodness. What she's doing in LA. She is this crazy. Elan's a crazy medicine woman, just an absolute mensch. And I'm so excited to learn with her as well.
Well, now could be a good time to segue into that. I know she turned the camera. Elan, are you available to chat about what we are? I'm asking to unmute you so that way you can talk when you can. Go ahead. So tell us about what you do, Elan, and also tell us how you are.
I'm doing great. I escaped from the LA fire right now, so I'm in a safe place with my family. So I'm just happy to be here, to be able to share knowledge with you.
Yeah, she doesn't have a regular setup because she had to evacuate her house.
I had to run away. I didn't grab my laptop, so I grabbed my valuables, including my son and a few, medicines. But here I am. I've been hearing great things about Anarchapulco. This is a big honor to even be able to participate at this level with all of you. And I'm excited to share the ozone and all the other functional medicine pieces that really complement Bo's work.
Yeah, so tell me about what it is that you do, because she told me a little bit about it a few weeks ago, but it's all a little vague to me currently.
Okay, well, to start, ozone is a form of gas that can really remove toxins and pathogens from one's body in a very potent way. It's probably the most highest level of oxidation that can happen in the body, the human body, with the ozone gas mixed in with the blood. And so I have several delivery systems where I've been a teacher, I've been a consultant and a practitioner for about 16 years now. And it's been one of those miraculous journeys witnessing people really turn around their autoimmunes mainly. And really it's a really great alternative to antibiotics, and is able to not only alkaline the body, but reset it in a way so that you basically remove viruses and bacteria, fungus, yeast, mold, any type of heavy metals, chemicals. And so this is like, the great reset for the body when you have access to this. And I've been doing this for 15 years now and more. So anything else you'd like to add?
Well, and the access to not even just ozone, but can you tell us a little bit about the EBOO itself and how different that is from the other forms of ozone that most people know about?
Well, so I was doing DIB ozone for a long time and serving up all the other complementary ways. There's 21 ways to do ozone in total. And, every orifice and each surface, you can inject it. I mean, pretty much all over the body. And when I found the EBOO, I've always known about it. I knew that it came from Malaysia. And at the time when I was doing it, it was really underground and not accessible. Super hard to come by. People would have to hide this machine in hotels in Beverly Hills on the penthouse floor, and you have to know somebody to get access to this, something like that, right? And now it's real. Since the pandemic, it's been so accessible now because it works. And now I have access to the EBOO, which it stands for extracorporeal blood oxygenation ozonization. So that is able to, it's basically like the Rolls Royce of ozone therapy, where you are able to take out half your blood in 1 hour and then put in 100 times the amount of ozone you would get with direct IV that I've been doing for 15 years. And it will filter out all the, cholesterol deposits, heavy metals, and endotoxins, die off, any pieces of, that parasite pieces, all of that will be filtered in this dialysis device where it can clean it all out and also put it the blood right back into the body at the end.
It's incredible. Like the color of the blood that came out of my body when I did it, it was like purple. I was just like, oh my God, what's wrong? I think everyone's looks like that. And then it comes in this amazing red. And I felt like a superhero after. To have 60% of the blood clean in your body in an hour. Everybody that has any issues within this realm of she's talking about, this is the top class treatment that you can get for all of this. We have to smuggle it into Mexico too, but we're doing it. We're bringing it.
Well, yeah, the vision is to get accessible and affordable healthcare for people down the road, and create a sense of community healing, and that way you have between the body mechanics, the functional medicine piece, and the quantum, the tech piece, this is really like an ancient future approach that we're creating here. And the ozone is a huge piece because with all the biowarfare and all the, mutated viruses they're releasing, and now the fog on top of the chemtrails, and on top of the fluoride, on top of all the, you leave a petri dish outside and you can test the water and you see all these cadmium, uranium, plutonium, all these crazy advanced just bioweaponry that we're facing with. So this is a different type of war we're fighting, and just to have these tools to sustain and maintain our baseline so we can actually have a fighting chance, ozone is one of the ways to do it.
Yeah, a big way, I think. And I think that tie into that is, traditional Chinese medicine, for example, is great, but we are not dealing now with traditional problems. Right. We are dealing with problems and we have to start for everything they throw at us and create. We need to find ways to combat that. And I think that with the amalgamation of all of these things, this is the best way forward that I can see.
Absolutely. And there's just so much room for experiment right now, and just mixing the modalities that we talked about in the beginning, because it's, before detox was just a fun retreat for, the stay-at-home mom or, the new age person. And now it's not that. It's mandatory. It's actually mandatory and a must for your practice to just stay balanced. And me being from LA for 20 plus years, I realized that, LA people were really open and were really ahead of all the technologies and the newer trends, only because, we deal with way more stress being in the city. We're exposed to way more pollutants. And so just knowing that we have these tools now, it really can get us to become our superhuman selves in the ways that we know we can. And it's just, most of the time when I look at disease and look at any type of ailments, it's coming from imbalances, and it's coming from the overload of toxic waste we cannot hold and move through naturally. And so this is why, this is the first time in our history when within one day we can access any medicine we want. anything, used to take us months and weeks to, sail to get, saffron. And now look at us, we have all these biohacking tools and, ozone and newer modalities coming in because, we're calling in the newer medicines to help us really just thrive at this time.
That's incredible. So what sort of things do you recommend this treatment that you were talking about in terms of the ozoning and kind of cleaning the blood? Like, what do you recommend this for the most? Like, what should people be?
Well, I have a business called Angel's Breath Lounge. Ozone itself, the gas, means angel's breath or the breath of God. And it's been around for 60 years since the original Tesla was around, So we, now that we're able to use it in a more advanced ways, really, I mean, you name a condition, there's almost like nothing that doesn't get eradicated. If
there's nothing that won't help, right?
Yeah, there's nothing, even if you're not sick and you just want to do it for preventative, or if you want to just feel like more energy, or if you want to have radiant skin. I mean, there's a lot of great benefits from it. People report having, just a better outcome and with surgery after and before, or they're better at feeling like the chronic fatigue, which is like a total umbrella label, that it just really comes from the imbalances again. If you're loaded with heavy metals, I'm all about testing. Like if you can test before and just get like a baseline of where you're at, and then do all these therapies and then do a test again, you'll see that, it often comes down to like mold issues from being in really wrecked homes or old homes, or there's parasites, or the richest and the poorest people, doesn't matter. Everyone has parasites. You just have to be mindful and conscious of these protocols. So what I do with my clinics is I have a functional medicine piece. I test people. I even use quantum testing as well, just to verify what's going on, to get like a snapshot. And then from there, we go and then recommend applicable treatments that are going to actually serve them. And that way they get the most out of their healing. So, then I can recommend different IV drips. I do all the IV drips in my clinics with my doctor and nurses, and we have methylene blue, which is amazing. And adding in the tech piece, like the red light therapy, the quantum piece, the biofeedback, and also radionics and plasma Rife machines. Like, when you do all that together with the live blood analysis as well, you're able to really hone in and get refined on the people's protocols. And everyone's customizable. And it doesn't, and this is where there's more remote healing now. There's more ways to manage people's health, even if we're separated in different places. And it's really advanced, what's coming out, the military grade, different lasers and things I also work with. And so right now, my focus and my lane is really the ozone, because I want to get people in a place where they actually feel energized enough to feel motivated to go to the next steps.
I've been looking for that with the ozone that you do for it feels like forever. I have ozone as well at my clinic, but to that level, and because the combination, like we talked about before, you're made of 87% hydrogen and oxygen. To get the body to hold that much ozone is what I've been struggling with, because there's only so much ozone you can do, say rectally, because it does dry out. But with the combination of what we're doing together, I've been looking for this lady for a long time, and I finally found her. But the combination of that is mostly what you are made out of. So like within myself is like, I feel like I'm reverse aging at this point. And I want everyone, what I see in my clinic, and I'm sure you see this too, is the amount of parasites and heavy metals are probably in the top of the list right now of, other than if you have autoimmune cancer, that kind of thing. Everybody is dealing with this. And think of, when we think of someone that has had mercury in their mouth, maybe they've had it out. It doesn't mean it's still not stored in all of your tissues, right? Say you had that mercury in for 35 years. You need to get your blood cleaned at a very crazy level, because you're still leaching. This is still things that are affecting you, right? And the sicker you are, the more the parasites sink in, right? And there's ties to almost so many diseases when it comes to parasites and their waste products they have in your body. So, and especially the older generation, the ones that have, started to just kind of become conscious of this, that have been within the food pyramid and these systems for, the last 50 years. You need aggressive treatment at this point. I think everyone at Anarchapulco and with the freedom community has that mentality that if you don't have your health, you don't have anything, or they're starting to have that mentality. So we can fundamentally start there. The whole world opens up to be able to get yourself to the highest form of human that you could possibly be. And I know, Lily, I actually watched your podcast. You're actually bringing, I think, a live blood. I'm not sure if he's an exact live blood analyst from the same. I think there was a bit of a confusion of if he was the dark field microscopy, but he's going to come and do some amazing blood work there as well. So theoretically, you can come see what's going on in your blood and then get it all cleaned up and be able to see exactly in real time what's happening.
So it's fascinating, the before and afters when we have the add-on to the live blood, to the ozone, everything else.
Yeah. So in regards to the interview I just did with Logan, which that was a lot of fun. That was all about decoding yourself in terms of. It
was really good.
I was so excited to do that. And after I did finish that interview, I looked over at my boyfriend and I was like, I love him because
he's great. You guys had great chemistry too in a podcast. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah. And then there's so the person I had mentioned, I scheduled to do my interview with him in an hour. That's Adam Biggleson, and his dad developed this whole system. I don't think he's necessarily going to be doing it at Anarchapulco this year, although you can go and do it in iHealCollective, but also you can do those blood tests via the mail. Like they send kits out in the United States, and it's not very expensive. I forget how much it costs, but you can. They essentially send you a kit because it's just taking a drop of blood. They send you a kit. They tell you how to do the sample, and then you send it in, and then they do a meeting with you, and they give you a report. And honestly, it was really interesting to see all of the stuff that I saw in my own, I saw dental issues, I saw back issues, I saw stomach issues, my cervix showed up on that because I've had, I had an IUD and I had some damage from that. And it's really interesting, the live blood thing. And on that, actually another, I don't know if you know her, but a lady named Anita Baxis has come on as a sponsor, and she's going to be doing live blood.
Amazing. We might bring someone too, because I feel like there's a lot of people that are going to need it.
There's huge demand. There's huge demand. So for the merrier, but it's cool because we've had Adam talking about this at Anarchapulco at least the last 2 years, maybe last.
Yeah, that's right.
And now we're going to have people there actually doing it. Because for me, I went to Adam's house in March and I did the test. So he took my blood, and then I got to see live, my white blood cells moving around and my red blood cells and the little bits of plasma and all that stuff. It was just
cool.
It was really cool. It was, I highly recommend it.
The blood doesn't lie. It's the rivers of our consciousness. And on top of that, people overestimate how healthy they are. They don't want to see, when they finally see it on a blood test or live blood, then you're like, whoa, I really, I really have some things to clean up. And that's typical when you first get your blood looked at.
When you can see the universe inside, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think that for me, I think there's both sides to that coin. Because for me, I don't know what I was expecting, but I was, because I've been through so much chronic stress and trauma. I've had hormone problems since I was 10, terrible acne issues and all sorts of stuff like that. So I was expecting to see maybe some scary shit in there. And basically what I did see was validation of most of my problems were structural. It was less bad than I expected. Most of it was structural and some inflammation. And it was interesting because we did another blood test just to kind of look I ended up being in that area, was not the plan, but I ended up being in that area for 2 weeks. And then I had body work done and this scar release thing, which they literally injected around my belly buttons and some other areas of my body with some sort of vitamins. I forget what it was, but it basically the intent was to release, tension scars so the body and the energy could flow better. Right. And I went back to Adam's house immediately after and did another blood test, and you could see the same structures that were in the first blood test covered in white blood cells and literally breaking apart, because that's what happens. You end up with these structures in your blood that you can see, and they could be related to all sorts of things. And it's whether or not the white blood cells get there, start working on them and break them apart and dissolve them, basically.
Do you mean the like rouleau formations that you see in dark?
I don't know what they're called. I just know there was like one big white weird splotch of something that they had identified, if I remember correctly, as some sort of structural inflammation. And it was broken into 2 or 3 pieces, but you could very clearly see it was that thing that was there before. It had the same edges. It was just breaking apart, and it had a bunch of blood cells glowing.
Well, one thing that I will have to say between Bo and my work is that old injuries are really the source of autoimmune, in head injuries especially. When I follow and collect data, when I work on people, I always ask that question to them. Have you had a previous accident? You have a head injury? And then they start telling me their symptoms, and it all makes more sense with the autoimmune piece that comes in due to what you mentioned, the inflammation part of it. So when you are able to break down the scar tissue and fix the old injuries, traumatic brain injury, and especially, you're able to allow the body to finally free itself of the inflammation that's been holding you hostage and pain, and also creating all these other low immune systems that allow all these invaders to come in. And in addition to the pain.
Totally. If your inflammatory response is off the charts, you're opening yourself up for fungus, for bacteria, for parasites. And this is one of the number one questions I always get is be like, why did this happen? And they want one reason. Mm-hmm. And there's never one reason. There's usually a physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional response. It's this. It's a combination until there's a cataclysmic breakdown, usually, just like toxic overload. So we have to stop looking at this like, my injury happened because of this. Yeah. So I tore my meniscus and my MCL. I had an accident. I fell off in the dark on this path. However, I didn't tear it to the extent that I did because I'd already done the fundamental work. But the opposite side of that is that, injuries can be a symptom of tension, right? So you have people that fall and break their hip. Well, they just fell and it wasn't big, but they had too much tension in your body, and that's when it broke. Bones don't move muscles, muscles move bones, right? So it's like realizing that a lot of the things we're going to and coming back to inflammatory response, and then obviously what's going on the emotional level, and bringing those two together, there's so much you can do. And then obviously with the functional side of gases. So it's tying all of these things in. And I would say, I know a lot about, functional medicine and working within that realm. I have. But I am by no means even coming close to what Elan's experience in that is. And that's what I want to do with iHealCollective. I want to pull in the best of the best and have us work together with no egos to really, so you have a team working for you. You don't just have me. You don't just have her. Right. So I'm just so grateful that I was able to bring this together this year.
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I'm really excited to see how the group responds to, in particular, this ozone plasma type thing is going to be, because that's not something that we necessarily have had at Anarchapulco. We've had some people talking about the therapies and stuff, but it's really special that Anarchapulco, through your partnership with us, we have, it's one thing to have sponsors that are talking about their companies, but it's another thing to have somebody there that's actually supporting people, and you end up with a lot of people who go out and they party, and then the next morning they're sitting at your Browns machine. Just
like, well, there's a hangover here.
Get ready for this. The partying scene is going to change, especially with what we're doing,
to a degree. Well, or they're going to party more because they're going to be like, oh, I can just fix this tomorrow.
Yeah.
But you know what? I do want to say,
detox, you have to do both, right?
Yeah. But I do want to say, though, if people are really interested in the EBOO treatment, first of all, check out her website. It goes into, a lot more. But there's only so many people that we can do with the EBOO this year, because we only have one of these. The treatments take an hour. So I think we want to start actually an advanced online sign up, so we can make sure the people that are really serious about this get it.
I also am going to bring the DIV as well, which is more the homeopathic version. It's still great, and it's just less invasive and a smaller needle. And so for those who just want a quick 30-minute boost, I'll be bringing down my other generator and also offering ozone oil. And we're collaborating. We're going to be making a formula with both the DMSO and the ozone oil, which will help alleviate all kinds of. It's kind of like the big fat Greek wedding with the guys like the Windex fixes everything. That's kind of like how ozone oil is. It could just fix
It's incredible.
anything you have with skin. It's got it, like from bug bites to rashes, eczema, psoriasis, any type of pain,
Skin
snake
infection.
bites, or spider bites, infections of all kinds.
Cysts.
I mean, I just healed a bed sore like with the ozone oil alone, and it was like a gaping hole in this poor guy's body, and it sealed it right up and sealed it. So it's like emergency medicine that you want to have in your doctor's bag or when your emergency kit.
I never go anywhere without ozone oil and DMSO.
Exactly.
And the combination of those two, it's going to pull it into the skin because it's transdermal. So we're so excited to start experimenting with this.
Yeah, I'm very curious because I'm familiar with your DMSO cream, but I have never experienced ozone oil. And I personally I've dealt with skin issues my entire life, which they're finally clearing up, at least on my face, because I got on Jeff's train, although not by, Jeff's advice. My partner got me doing coffee enemas this year. And so my skin is a lot clearer.
Oh, yeah.
Still
starting to clean out the gut. Yeah. Well, we're just going to throw you into a pool of ozone oil and then pump your blood through ozone. And then it's all
saturated. Right? Saturated. Well, the exciting thing is it's not just the topical, eventually we're going to be rolling out the suppositories for the yoni and for rectal delivery for any type of, you name it, hemorrhoids or yeast infections. We got that too. And we also have oil pulling, which with coconut ozonated oil. And we're going to do all these different we're going to play and eventually roll it out, and hopefully we'll be able to have this accessible to anyone around the world, ideally. Right. So,
I would definitely be down to try the coconut oil for oil pulling, because that's another thing that I started doing this year was oil pulling, and it's definitely valuable, but it'd be interesting to see what the ozone does differently.
Yeah, there's so much research out there now. It's like when I was doing it, no one knew about ozone like 15 years ago. But now, ever since the pandemic, everybody's just been hunting and searching for all the remedies they can gather naturally. And so, the time is really set up for us to do.
It's still not that easy to just Google ozone therapies and find direct results, though, for people that are looking. I actually, until, things they're starting to break open a little bit, I had to have a full ozone library from other ozone therapists so I could go in and do this. So for those of you that are just searching regular online, use DuckDuckGo, go to Elan's website.
DuckDuckGo is good. Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to find a lot of things on Google that it's dangerous. It's dangerous. And it's not dangerous. It's not dangerous. The only thing with ozone is you don't breathe it in straight away if it's not bubbled. No. You breathe O2, not O3, or your lungs just might feel a little scratchy. That is literally the only side effect other than the healing crisis that may happen, as talks about.
Yeah, it's herxing. People, if you herxing and it'll take 2 days to recover. But if you just take binders like charcoal and bentonite clay, you'll recover faster. Yeah. If you're herxing and realize that you're rapid detoxing and you're not sick, you're just detoxing too fast. So these are things that, we do make sure we have the right protocols in place for before and after, just to make sure we mitigate some of the detox reactions. There's going to be, I'm bringing my nurse down. I have an MD in the US who helps me with everything. And so, we're going to be fully dialed by the time we come down to Anarchapulco.
That's really exciting, which, by the way, it's crazy to think that we're like a little over a month away from that. I'm just like, oh no.
I gotta start writing my talk here.
There's so much to do.
You get it done though.
Yeah.
You guys are amazing.
Yeah. And Bodreay, I know I told you that, but this is probably going to be our last Anarchapulco in Acapulco. So that's going to be in its own way really really special is what I was trying to say. And honestly, I'm here for it. I know I've got my own problems, my own reasons of why I'm tired of Acapulco.
Yeah.
But it's going to be really interesting to see, where we grow and how we move forward and what happens with that. And
are you guys going to change the name?
No, so that was Jeff's one request is he's like, keep it Anarchapulco, because we did Librepulco, that's kind of like a twist on it. We're gonna do Anarchapulco whatever edition, and it's just gonna we're gonna do it on Mexico. We have a few places in mind for the first one. So we'll see what happens. We'll probably announce that at the conference this year as to like what's happening and where and when. But it's going to be really, we're taking the show on the road, basically.
It's going to be nice to mix it up too. You know, there's a lot of people. I mean, I'm only 4 years into Anarchapulco, but 10 years in the same location. It's going to be. I think it's going to be exciting.
Are you going to the U.S. or doing
Probably
anything?
not. Probably Mexico and other places because the thing that Anarchapulco started on was like, it was basically Jeff on a live stream 11 years ago saying, why are we having all these freedom conferences in the United States? And it's like, I mean, he had a point, and he was like, let's do one here. And he was drunk and he forgot about it. And then people were contacting him like, where can we buy tickets? Like, let's go. And he was like, oh, I guess I have to actually do that. And that's how the conference was born. So we're going to definitely, and people have been begging for years because like they come down, a lot of them only have like 1 week out of the year they can be free and they can come down. And we've just been doing it in Acapulco despite recently repeated disasters. And it's just like, okay, it's getting prohibitively difficult to do it there, but also people are like, we want to go somewhere else. We want to see, because, Acapulco is a really cool place, but it is by no means the only place, I
mean, Mexico's pretty big.
It's big, and it's been devastated so much. It's been so nice that you guys have actually kept it there for the 2 years to bring money into the community. But as these struggles, you have to still be able to do your job in production. And what I will say, Elan, is the movement of Anarchapulco has sparked things in the States. Like I'm pretty sure within like Music and Sky with Mike.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
And so
I've actually been there and participated with them as well.
Really? We were there this year.
Yeah.
So what I think is amazing is Anarchapulco is inspiring things everywhere, like Libre Poco, all over. So I do love that it's in Mexico, at least for me, because it's the one thing that's actually easy for me to get to. But I think in the winter with that, bringing the sunshine and bringing people into the vitamin D, and there's people are excited to get away. And that's an important thing.
Yeah, we're also talking about doing smaller things like Anarch Awakening is like our, branch of spiritual and ceremony side of things. And we've talked about just doing health and spirituality retreats that are under the name, but in other areas, focused on certain things. Because if there's one thing that we've noticed is that people are looking for ways to gather, but also above all, people have really been looking for solutions, because it's not enough to like watch people on YouTube and hear about, okay, these are all these problems, but like we need actual solutions.
Yes.
And
yes.
I will say that I am proud to have been an influence in Anarchapulco, perhaps a thorn in the side in the early days. Anarchist series, I was definitely a thorn in the side, but I just wanted to see more action and just less talking and less of the talking heads. And I think we've really kind of shifted into that, and it feels pretty cool and pretty special to be a part of.
I agree as well. I think a few years ago when we were getting to these conferences, that's one of the things that I noticed with the other conferences. It was just like, we're just talking about the problems. Where are the real-time solutions? And you're right. I think the last 2 years, the speakers and the people around that have done a really good job of actually having that. And it's, for us, I really wanted to get a retreat together for Anarchapulco this year, but it's just been so crazy. We're going to have one, and everyone keeps asking. It's going to happen. But it's just the follow-up of all these solutions that are happening after, and the conversations that keep going, right? And the communities being there for each other is just... And I don't know if you watched the HBO documentary yet, Elan. I'll send it to you. Lily's story is fascinating. She's kind of a celebrity. I'm not going to lie. When you mentioned Anarchapulco to people that necessarily haven't heard of it to the degree or aren't as awake, they're like, "Oh, that documentary. Do you know that, Miranda? You Lily?" I'm like, "Yes." She's, how's she doing? And people that don't even know you have just seen this one thing are actually so embedded in your story, and it's happened like probably 20, 30 times to me since I've known you about, mentioning this. And I'm like, yeah, she's doing great. She's
I want to answer the call to action, and I'm so happy to be able to bring some of my team and practitioners and, just really mastermind the solutions moving forward, because there's so much, information out there, but how do we distill it so that people get the potent transmissions that are, are relevant to them and their health needs and their families' needs. And, really just, I've been giving out information for free. Like, I don't even charge my consulting, really. I just let, I feel like information is power, and we have to spread it out at this time. And this conference is a great opportunity to do that. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the most important part. And I think the only downside to all of this, like, exposure and everything that we've gotten through this series and everything, and just like all these connections is, exactly what you were talking about, Bodreay. Like, you want to do a retreat, but there's just so much going on. There's only so many hours in the day to my head is spinning this time of year, even with my own, because Anarchapulco is my main job, but I have a lot of other stuff that I work on, plus my own personal stuff. And it's like, how do you find time in the day? But it is, the single most rewarding thing. And like, for me personally, my life would not be anything like what it is now without Anarchapulco. Like, I literally fled the United States and came here to be a part of this event. And it's been really cool to see it evolve, but also to evolve along with it. Cause that's been a big thing.
And it's like, you literally have family there now. And even though I've only been there a few years, it's like, as soon as I see Max, as soon as I see Rebecca, as soon as I see these people, it feels just like that cohesiveness of family that's they're there and there for each other, protecting each other. And, and I love like the art that you bring to Anarchapulco with, with your silks and all these things. It's just like, it becomes this about solutions, but almost a lot of a celebration of just life and what people are missing, the day-to-day things. Is like, and getting together with these like-minded people. It's like, it's something I treasure so much. And even though I'm in quite an awake area, it's to get to forward with these people that are activists and they're passionate about it and actually want to do things with their health. And that's a big thing. It's like, we can tell people all day about what's going on in their health, what they can do. What I really love to do with Anarchapulco, I'm going to show you. Because that actually means so much more when you can get your, your feet on the ground, the gas in your nose or in your arm, your body on the table, an elbow in you, a chopstick in you. And it's like, oh, I get it on a different level now. And I think that's the cohesiveness as far as the call to action. It's like, no, here we are. We're showing up with what we have. And it's not just this, which is also very educating. But
yeah, I mean, I think there's, there was really a time and place for, as I call it, the talking heads days of anarchy, where there are a bunch of people talking about the problem. Yeah. I think there was absolutely a value and a need for that. But I think we've also, there's only so many things you can say about the problems at large. Yeah. And I think the most important things are to understand yourself, to understand your community, take care of your body, and to take care of your people. And that, I think that's why of all of, because I could have tried to get, interviews with the bigger name speakers that we have on our list, like Gareth or Ike and people like that. But the thing is, I wanted to focus on the real actionable stuff. That's why I did the interview with Logan. If you don't understand the energy that makes up who you are, you're not going to have a very good time in the simulation. And
the video game.
And then with Adam, with the actual testing, because the thing that I appreciate about Adam and I found really interesting was I had asked him, how often do you suggest people do these tests? And if he was just trying to sell a product, he would be like every month, every week. And he was like, I think that everybody should do one once. And, if you want to be really fancy, do one once a year, or if you have greater access to this equipment, do it more often. But I think doing it once is the most important. And there was no, at the end, okay, now buy this product. It was, here's your report, here's things you can focus on. And our suggestion is take care of your body, osteopathy and a few other recommendations of things that are pretty accessible for everybody, And it's really interesting to see, whereas you deal with the medical system in the United States, it's like, here, take this pill. Okay, for how long? Well, the rest of your life, it's a very
I agree with that completely, but we are not outside the scope of them doing that with an alternative traditional medicine as well. And that's the thing. If you're doing medical stuff, even in Mexico, I sent a patient of mine to BioHealth Spa to get the 10 bypass ozone system, which isn't as good, but it's what we have access to here to get her blood cleaned. And she was already in pretty good shape. And within an hour, they told her she needed $75,000 of treatments. my liver enzymes are elevated. I need stem cells now. So she sends me everything. And I'm like, you don't need any of this now. So we still fall prey to that to a degree, but I think it really comes down to your practitioners. Like, yes, I sell products, and yes, I have done my Brown's gas machine. I don't sell anything that I don't use myself and believe in 100% and have that going behind it. And that's not the reason you're here. What we're trying to do with this. It's like, find the intention behind that. But we still have to find the line with that in alternative health as well. When it's like, no, take all of this, take everything, you need it all. And it's like, no, if your diet's correct, you can get most of what you need from your diet and taking supplements all the time. It's finding that kind of way around the education that's cutting through, not just the making money side and the business side. So I really respect him for that. He could have easily said you need it once a month,
Yeah. And I mean, and it's interesting enough to where, like, if I were him, and I know he does test himself a lot because he told me this, but if I were him and I knew how to, like, do those tests and I had the equipment literally in my house, I would be like constantly testing my blood just for the funds, just to see, like, because it's
fascinating.
I have this little video that he took of it. Part of it was he showed me, like, just this shot, and there were a bunch of red blood cells, but there was this one white blood cell, and it had, like, this shape, and it looked like a smiley face. And he's like, "Oh, it's a happy white blood cell." And I was like, "Fuck, that's cute. Can you take a video of that and send that to me? Like, I want to." And sometimes I'll look at it, and I'm like, "There's my little happy white blood cell," there to help me out. But it's really interesting. Yeah, I think there are definitely ways to get, like, roped into some pretty intense stuff. And in regards to wellness in general, it is a ongoing thing. But what I'm also learning is, like, it's worth the investment, and the simplest solutions are in general the most profound.
Right. Breathe gas and drink water.
Get some sun, and sleep 8 hours, everything you hear about. Yeah,
totally. And to be fair, you're correct. If you had this, like, I use my Brown's gas machine like 4 nights a week overnight. I bubble all of my water. I use, that's the nice thing about having the access to that. When you do have it, I'm on my mission coil every day. Elan's doing e-boo once a week. We are really, really blessed and lucky. But what I really want, within, Brown's gas is, like, people do have the ability to do this themselves as well, if they want, and then really change their life in a fundamental way. It's really exciting time to be alive, as weird as it is.
I mean, ultimately we want to empower the people to understand what the tools to take care of themselves.
Yeah.
We're here just to fast track them and at least get them to the place where they can actually just do it on their own. And that takes, clearing out the past mistakes and decisions, and then making better decisions moving forward. So,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, we're coming up on about an hour and a half here, and I do have another one of these with Adam, like I mentioned, coming up very soon. So I want to say thank you guys both for your time. I'm really looking forward to seeing both of you. And yeah, I just want to say thank you guys, and I'm going to go ahead and end this one and let you guys go back to your day. Good luck with the fires you're dealing with there in LA. It's a little crazy. Hope everything works out all right for that, but
just keep the prayers up. That's all we can do.
That's it. And thank you so much for taking the time. I feel really special with this. And we'll put on the Anarchapulco Telegram group a calendar to pre-book the Ubu treatments, because, like I said, it will be a limited time. And Lily, you're already in.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah, because it's that's really the best place to the people that are actually coming is in that Telegram channel, because it is a very active, very, very full of information channel. So yeah, people keep a watch out for that. And I'm really, really looking forward to seeing you. Thank you guys.
Thanks, Lily.
Thank you.
Have a great day.